Hello, I am Mystic Orange and this is video hashtag 450. In this video I'll be reviewing the TV show 64 Zoo Lane. But before we get into this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe. And also make sure to check out my Patreon. In my Patreon I've been doing some rewrites. So if you're curious, head on over. So since the 27th of April to 30th of April, I've been watching the 64 Zoo Lane. I would say it has been a fun experience. 64 Zoo Lane has 4 seasons, each of the seasons have 26 episodes. And each episode is about 12 minutes. So where can you watch 64 Zoo Lane? There's already a channel where you can watch it. I will link it in the description and you will see it on the screen. So what is 64 Zoo Lane about? 64 Zoo Lane is an animated series that formerly appeared on CBeebies. CBeebies had other shows too, like Third Damn Bird and Tinga Tinga Tales. In 64 Zoo Lane, it follows a girl named Lucy who lives beside a zoo called 64 Zoo Lane. And every night she gets told a story by the animals. The stories usually emphasizes on friendship and responsibility. And at the end of the story, Lucy gets back to bed helped by Georgina the giraffe. So how did I get into 64 Zoo Lane? In fact, I actually grew up with 64 Zoo Lane. It was one of my favorite shows. I would watch it all the time on CBeebies. It's like how I grew up with other kids shows like Charlie and Lola. So rewatching 64 Zoo Lane holds back so many memories. So far I would say that I still like 64 Zoo Lane for what it is. There would be other kids shows that I don't like now, but I'm glad that 64 Zoo Lane isn't one of them. I do wish kids shows nowadays was a bit like 64 Zoo Lane because it was intelligently written. Nowadays we have shows like Cocomelon. I feel like those shows aren't really helpful with kids. One thing I like about 64 Zoo Lane, unlike other shows, is that it doesn't shove the moral down your throat. Although it will tell you a moral each episode, the story itself is still engaging and fun to watch, so it's a good benefit. The next thing I want to talk about is the art style and the animation style. I really love the art style of 64 Zoo Lane. The colors are really vibrant and simple. And I also really like the animation styles. The characters really seem expressive with their emotions. I will have to give the illustrator and the animator a thumbs up. You have to bear in mind that this show was around 1994. So usually the art style in 1994 would be really grainy and poor quality, but I'm glad that they managed to pull it off. And I'm glad that they managed to keep it consistent all the way 4 seasons. I am aware that they had to do a reboot for season 3 and season 4 with a different art style. They had to use Adobe Flash for those seasons, but even still, it still feels consistent to the first 2 seasons. Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference from the animation style from season 1 to season 4, so it's all consistent and all fine. The only big difference between season 1 and season 3 is the door. In first 2 seasons, we would have the light green one with the pink writing, and in the season 3 and 4, we would have a red purple door with yellow writing. I think I prefer the second one a bit more. The colors a bit more popped out, and I think the pink in the first one gets lost in the green. So that's how I feel about it. The next thing I want to talk about is the title of 64 Zoo Lane. I do like the title of 64 Zoo Lane. It's not overly simple and it's not overly complicated. By looking at the title, you know it's about animals. I'm glad that they didn't call itself a zoo show or animal show, because I think those titles are terrible, but I'm glad they came up with this. Calling it 64 Zoo Lane makes it stand out. The title helps you recognize the show itself. I do believe a good title is important for a show. That's just basic marketing. But I also think it's interesting that it's called 64 Zoo Lane. Over here in the UK, we tend to number the street we live in. This makes me think of other shows that will name their shows after the street they live in. Kind of like Coronation Street or Third and Bird. I still think Third and Bird is a terrible title. The next thing I want to talk about is the theme song of 64 Zoo Lane. I have to say I really like the theme song of 64 Zoo Lane. The singer does a really good job singing the theme song. I find her voice really sweet and calming. I also really like the lyrics of the theme song. I like the singer describes every type of animal we have in 64 Zoo Lane. I think it's a great way to introduce each character. From the shows we've covered, I'll place the 64 Zoo Lane theme song at third spot. The next thing I want to talk about is the episodes of 64 Zoo Lane. So the episode formula goes like this. It starts with Lucy introducing the episode, then we get into the theme song, then Lucy comes down so the animals can tell her a story. We hear the story and it finishes off with her going to bed. That's the same formula for every episode. While I love 64 Zoo Lane, I do think some things need to be improved. So 64 Zoo Lane is about animals, kind of like 44 Cats and Third and Bird. So what I said about 44 Cats and Third and Bird applies here as well. If it's a show about animals, I don't think humans are needed. So I don't think Lucy is needed, although I do think she's a pleasant character. I just think humans take away the charm of animalistic shows. While I'm fine with the formula of the show, I just don't think the filler is needed, like the part where Lucy's coming down or she's going back to bed. I just think the story without those things is better. So I would have loved after the theme song, we could have skipped the whole morning part and just got to the story. So overall, I think Lucy isn't needed and the filler isn't needed. So the story usually takes place in 7 locations. The first location we have is Africa. We have more episodes based on Africa compared to other locations. In Africa, we have characters like Natalie the antelope, Zed the zebra, Ronald the rhino, the Tick-Tick bird, and Nelson the elephant. Africa also has the most animals. The second location takes place in North America. This is where the main character, Boris the bear, is from. In fact, he is the only main character who isn't from Africa. In my opinion, I wish they had a character from each location to be the main character. Like, I'm fine with Georgina or Boris being the main character, but I think the other characters could be replaced. The third location is South America. We have characters like Adam the armadillo, Leopoldo the llama, and Jazz the jaguar. In my opinion, South America usually have the best stories. I do think Jazz the jaguar should have replaced Nelson the elephant as a main character, as to represent stories from South America. The fourth location is Australia. Usually in Australia we have characters like the kangaroos, koalas and other animals. I do think Joey the kangaroo should have been the main character instead of Molly the hippo. I do think Joey would have represented Australia much more better. The fifth location is Asia. We don't get introduced to Asia until season 4. I do think that's a shame that it took this long for Asia to be introduced. I do think Asia should have been introduced till season 1. And I do believe we needed more Asian animals. Like, we do get animals like panda or a crane, but I think we could have had other animals too, like a tiger or a cobra. I do believe we had missed opportunity with Asia. And I do think Bao the panda should have been a main character instead of the monkeys. The sixth location we have is an island. We have characters like Hercule the walrus and the puffins. Sometimes the island characters move towards the seventh location, which is the North Pole. In North Pole, we only have 2 main characters, Snowbird the polar bear and Sydney the seal. I do think Hercule the Walrus and Snowbird the Polar Bear could have been one of the main characters of 64 Zoo Lane. So these are the 7 characters that I would have loved as main characters. Plus I would have loved Asia to be one of the main locations to be more present. Also maybe Europe being one of the locations. For the most part I would say that I really enjoyed most of the episodes of 64 Zoo Lane. But I can't say if there's any episode that sticks out to me as my favorite episodes. I guess my favorite episodes tend to be the South American ones. I think the scenery of South America is so beautiful in these drawings. However, I can pinpoint my least favorite episode of 64 Zoo Lane. That is Season 2, Episode 25, Herbert's Peaceful Day. I felt bad for Herbert in this episode because he did nothing wrong. The other animals just go at his throat just for doing nothing. The next thing I want to talk about are the characters of 64 Zoo Lane. There are actually 87 characters, and I'm not going through all of them. Instead, I will pick out my favorite characters and my least favorite characters. My first favorite characters are Giggles and Tickles the monkeys. I do like them, they tell the best stories, and I find them really fun and silly. My second favorite character is Boris the bear. I like him because he changes up the pace. He's not from Africa. My third favorite character is Zed the zebra. I do think Zed is a charming character. My next favorite character is Alan the aardvark. I think he looks really cool, especially with the snout, which plays the trumpet. My next favorite character is Ronald the rhino, especially because he's a rhino, and I think he's really cool because he bashes boulders. My next favorite character is Toby the tortoise. I think he's really nice and friendly. He's also pretty chill as well. My next favorite character is Victor the crocodile. I know he's mean, but he's really iconic. He makes a good villain. My next favorite character is Casper the chameleon. I think Casper is really fun. I like it when he changes his colours, especially when he tries to trick other characters. I do think the other animals were a bit hard on him. Honestly, his tricking wasn't anything serious. I do wish he appeared in more episodes though. My next favourite character is Randolf the raccoon. He's a cool raccoon character with a good American or Canadian accent. By the way, I'm British. I can't tell the difference between American or Canadian accent. My next favourite character is Jazz the jaguar, purely because he's a jaguar, but he also has a really cool design with orange fur and black spots. I also like that he has a Hispanic accent. My next favourite character is Annie the anaconda. She's a really huge snake. It's really impressive. My next favourite character is Joey the kangaroo. He's a sweet kangaroo. Now we're on to my least favourite characters. My first least favourite character is Nelson's nephew, Nigel the elephant. I find him pretty much nuisance. I also find his crying really annoying. My second least favourite character is Chuckles the monkey. He is cousin of Giggles and Tickles. And unlike Giggles and Tickles who bring fun to the table, Chuckles sucks the fun out of it. My next least favourite character is Eddie the hippo. Eddie is Molly's nephew. I hate it when Eddie cries, it's really annoying. I think you can guess that my least favourite characters is when they cry. My next least favourite character is Rosie the rhino. She is a rhino that Ronald fell in love with. Honestly, I don't see the attraction. Rosie was so ungrateful towards Ronald every time he tried to impress her. She's not worth it if she is that ungrateful. My next least favourite character is Esmeralda the snake. She is a Karen to the core. Do I need to explain more? My next least favourite character is Grandpa Chameleon. He's always harsh on Casper the chameleon. I think he needs a chill pill. My next least favourite character is Lily the ostrich. I'm not even exaggerating, she tried to kill her brother. My next least favourite character is Doris the duck. I would consider Doris being my least favorite character of them all. She's bossy, entitled, and selfish. I really hate her. My next least favorite character is Barbara the Bison. Another character that cries a lot. I also hate characters that think they're cute when they're definitely not cute at all. Kind of like Muffin from Third and Bird. My next least favorite character is Jimmy the Kangaroo. He's a bully towards Joey. My next least favorite character is Confucius the Cop. I don't mind his character, it's just what he is why he's my least favorite. So Confucius is a sentient fish. I think that's a terrible idea. Um, Confucius is introduced in the fourth season along with the other Asian animals. I do believe any animal is allowed to be sentient, but I think there are specific animals that shouldn't be sentient. And I do believe that fishes and invertebrates shouldn't be sentient. And I have a really big reason for this. There are animals that actually eat fish. I do think it's dark that Confucius does exist. But I do understand that animals do eat other animals. But it's different when you're thinking of a context of a cartoon with sentient animals. I think there's some instances where some scenes are questionable. Like you have Reginald the lion who eats a bone. Whose bone is it? I'm not sure if the writers have thought this through. So if I wrote 64 Zoolane, I would have excluded the fishes and the invertebrates as sentient beings. I think we do get crabs, but I don't know if they're sentient or not because they don't speak. However, there was an episode where the puffins had to play against the crabs, so that's a bit questionable. I'm actually fine with Thelma being sentient. She's a mammal anyway, so I think she's okay being sentient. Just so you know, Thelma is a whale. I think that's it for today. It's now up to you if you want to watch 64 Zoolane. Have you watched it before or do you want to watch it? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more. Anyways, have a lovely day.